Hello beautiful people, this video is about who creates definition of done. So if you're here because you're asking these questions, you are deeply involved in the success of a project, whether you're involved in the success of the project as an individual contributor, as a team lead, as a department lead, or as the overall head of a project, or even as the CTO for an organization that has multiple technical or scientific projects running at any given time, and I welcome you. And if you're really thinking about these issues at this level of depth, then this video and a series of videos I've done on this are really all for you. I'm committed to really helping project leads and project managers lead projects that they can be incredibly proud of and create high-performing teams in the process of doing this for the purposes of delivering on a successful project. So when we think about who creates definition of done, the answer really reveals itself in terms of how teams coordinate with each other. So definition of done is not a solo act. And that's an important thing to remember as we start digging into this. There's also a really important role for customers and performers internally and externally in terms of defining completion. And as we learn how to co-create definitions of done, we really unlock a level of trust and unlock a level of satisfaction and executional clarity and capability that other approaches don't really support us in doing. And I also want to look at what happens when the wrong person defines done and they do it on their own and it gets woven into the project framework and understanding and the damage that that can do. The biggest misconception that I've seen many project teams struggle with is that they assume that the customer is the person who solely defines definition of done. Now, when we think about the customer in this context, it could be the manager, the client, or one of the stakeholders. And when we think that that's the person who is defining done, so sometimes that'll be the team lead defines done for a whole lot of tasks. Once we have that happening inside a project, what we're doing is we are now dumbing down everyone else who reports to that person on the project. If the leadership team are the people who define definition of done and everyone else accepts it as tasks that need to be now completed according to this definition, what we're doing is we are stripping them of their ability to be able to understand the context in which the work being asked to be done is valuable and understanding how that work relates to other pieces of work within the project team or within the organization. So once that happens, we put ourselves in a position where if the customer is the person who's defining done, then the performer is the person who defines when things are complete. Definition of done is really something that is co-created between a customer and a performer. And here's why it's so important to do it that way. As I said before, if I'm defining it just based on being the customer and I'm then lobbing it over the wall in the format of lots and lots of tasks to someone on my project, I'm precluding them from bringing their intelligence to the table in terms of defining the work that they themselves are going to do. And they spend more of their time guessing what it is that they think that I am looking for and what I think done might look like, even though they might have a couple of sentences on it somewhere in the project management documents. What happens over time is they then look exclusively onto their capability to just do as asked, and we miss out on their intelligence, their perspective, their understanding, and I'm also missing out on the feedback loops of my preliminary design of done, because I take my preliminary design, I mull on it for a couple of days, and then I put it into the project docs and I say, boom, this is my definition of done. Now I'm missing out on 20 other perspectives that would give me a much more robust definition of done, a much more valuable definition of done, a deeper understanding of definition of done, and a one that has been de-risked to a certain extent, because now I have a bunch of people who are part of delivering on this and who can understand where the pitfalls and problems are going to show up. If I understand the definition of done is something that is co-created, now what I want to do is I want to be able to build that into the layers of the organizational layers of the project, the framework, the operating framework of the project. One of the most effective ways that I have found to do this is to recognize that there is an execution layer that happens inside every project, every organization, but every project for our purposes here. And what we do is we try and manage that by doing all the things that we can see are visible. So in your mind's eye, think about an iceberg. The top of the iceberg is all the stuff that we're all familiar with and all the stuff that we see. It's the org charts, the project management Gantt charts, it's the project management timelines, it's the meetings that we have, it's the task management systems we use, the project management systems that we use, it's the hierarchy, the reporting structures, it's the meetings that we have. So we see all of these things and we recognize those as they're designed to help us manage the project and report on the project for progress and for our customers, and try and de-risk the success of the project and our chance of getting our deliverables done on time. That bit we see and that bit we're aware of, but we're also aware, however peripherally, that there are conversations being had all around the project that result in agreements that people are making to each other, that are handshakes to get work done, that are conversations that might happen in the corridor that say, I got this, I got your back, I can deliver on that for you. So we're all doing this dynamic coordination of a project on a constant basis. We haven't really had a good way of looking at that. We do now. We can do it based on understanding the language of coordination and how that shows up inside projects. And so once we start understanding that, and I've talked about the execution layer in multiple other videos in more depth, but once we start understanding that execution layer, what we can begin to do now is we can begin to start seeing that there is already a customer who is in a position to be able to define definition of done with a performer. But the execution layer allows us to be able to see what those pairs are, what those groups are, or how those conversations relate to each other. So I might have a higher level customer who might be the team lead, and that team might have 3 sub-teams underneath it. That person might be the customer for 20 different requests that have been made to their team. 3 of the requests might have gone to one person, 5 might have gone to another. And we now recognize that we can have definitions of done that live related to the human beings talking to each other and coordinating with each other and co-inventing together in the project. There isn't one lump definition of done that we can just kind of cascade down and hope that cut and paste into the spreadsheet or whatever tool we're using, and hope that we're actually able to translate the sense making and the context right down through the project. Once we understand the definition of done is something that is truly co-created, what we're doing is we're opening the door for a higher level of trust, for a higher level of shared understanding, for a higher level of alignment, and we are doing some of the things that I talked about in another video when we talked about high-performing teams, and I talked about Lancioni's lovely work, which talks about the 5 dysfunctions of a team. We're beginning to tackle some of those things head on, and what we're also doing is we are creating a situation in which we can begin to measure the success of the team in terms of coordinating and co-inventing and co-creating together. So I can now begin to look at what are the conversations that have been had, what loops have been closed, what definitions of done have actually been co-created, and we can judge the health and the growth of our team, growth in learning and growth in capability, based on that particular metric. If I understand that there are 200 definitions of done across a project and only 5 of them have been co-invented and the rest of them have been handed down from on high on the mountain, then I know that I've got a problem with my project, because the understanding of done only lives in the heads of a few people and does not live in the interpretation and understanding of everybody on the project as it relates to them. When only one side of the equation defines done, then misalignment is absolutely inevitable, because it gets lost in translation and it does not get contextualized for people. True execution requires a mutual design of what success really looks like. And Time and time again, we've seen that once we start instilling some of these practices into organizations and groups and teams, that their understanding of done and their understanding of success continues to grow over time, and they get more sophisticated and more nuanced around having these conversations. That capability alone is something that is truly worth bringing into your organization. If you are considering doing this, I have a free white paper for you, which is available on my website, www.jenniferkenny.com/execution. Also a link down below in the comments. And that white paper talks about this idea of the execution layer and how to begin to think about it, and what happens when it's not in play and what happens when it is and it's working effectively. One of the things that most definitely it has a significant impact on is this ability to be able to understand who creates definition of done. As you look to up-level your project management capabilities, or you think about the kind of projects that you want to work on, or the kind of projects that you want to lead, or you're in a train wreck of a project and you're looking to try and turn it around, I think this will be helpful for you. I have a number of other videos in this series. You can find them in one of the links below, but I encourage you to look at them. Let me know how this works for you. Let me know what you think about the white paper in terms of forwarding your thinking. And as you look to build yourself up with this capability, I'm here to help you, and I wish you the very best of luck and success. Take care.